So I decided to check out South of Midnight. My wife was interested in checking it out, so we did, and there were some things I actually liked about the game, and some things that were pretty big disappointments. It took us around 10 to 12 hours to beat, with a chapter select option to revisit levels and pick up collectibles. But overall, I would say that my experience with South of Midnight was pretty solid. South of Midnight is a new title from Compulsion Games, known for their work on games like We Happy Few and Contrast. The narrative kicks off with a devastating hurricane tearing through the city of Prospero, separating our protagonist Hazel from her mother after a heated argument. In a rush to save her mother, Hazel discovers she has magical weaver abilities, enabling her to manipulate glowing threads to heal broken bonds. So Hazel sets out to save her mom, embracing her new skills while navigating this gothic tale along the way.
My salvation.
A talking fish.
She encounters a host of inhabitants and mythical creatures along her journey, each tied to tales that elicit different levels of sorrow and resilience, with broader themes of trauma, family legacy, and cultural identity. The story in general can be a tough pill to swallow, focusing on themes with a very deep and dark tone. One in particular tells the story of two brothers, one having special needs, and shows how the older brother treats him over time. Throughout, the younger brother is treated so badly to the point that he is lured in and trapped inside of a tree by the older brother to rot away. As someone who has a brother with special needs, I definitely felt something while that storyline was playing out. The journey of uncovering each of these stories is pretty solid. It definitely has you feeling a range of emotions throughout the journey. While much of the game uses its time to world build and introduce you to the people of Prospero, I also felt that Hazel's ultimate goal of rescuing her mom gets lost about midway through, and had me wondering at times, why were we deviating from the main plot? Her mother's rescue felt sidelined, ultimately culminating in a rushed resolution that lacks an emotional punch. By far, the best part of this experience was in the story. There was a concerted effort to tug on the heartstrings, and there was a clear dichotomy between the urgency of rescuing your mom, understanding the world around you, and the powers you had just acquired. South of Midnight embraces a stop-motion animation style crafted in collaboration with Clyde Henry Productions. Characters resemble clay puppets with deliberate frame rate quirks, while the various environments, including swamps, decayed towns, and deep underground labyrinths, kept a frame rate we're currently used to. I personally gravitated towards the stop-motion effect growing up with some iterations of it used as a kid, and later on learning how to animate graphics in different styles. Even my wife embraced the style as it reminded her of old school claymation like Gumby back in the day. While the cutscenes capture the look very well, I wish the stop motion affected the entire environment and not just the characters. With the jarring nature of stop motion, it isn't a style for everyone, especially in a time where we enjoy the smoothness of high frame rates. So it was a nice bonus to be able to toggle the stop motion effect on and off. In the realm of sound design, South of Midnight was composed by Olivier de Rivière, who also worked on A Plague Tale: Innocence. The soundtrack merges blues, jazz, bluegrass, and folk with lyrical tracks tied to characters and moments in the game. It was a very interesting experience that created a cool vibe. I don't think any game I've played has used music in this way before, and there were plenty of tracks so you didn't hear the same tunes and jingles over and over again. The ambient music and sound effects were fantastic. The music is deeply integrated into the gameplay, evolving in response to the player's actions. I played the game with surround sound, and it really felt like the bayou was in our living room, with bugs and insects screaming, frogs croaking, water flowing, and your footsteps crunching through grass in a whole host of different environments. Hazel will also chime in with thoughts as you traverse with things she sees and encounters throughout, keeping the journey from being too quiet.
Hell no.
Moving on to gameplay, South of Midnight is a third-person action-adventure with a combination of platforming, combat, and light puzzles. This is honestly where the game took a deep downturn for me. The platforming takes on much of the gameplay loops, as Hazel will need to use her powers to flip switches, grapple around, move boxes, and climb platforms to advance the plot. I found this largely to be pretty serviceable, though there were many times that I found the platforming to be cumbersome, with animations glitching on me while climbing or while wall running. Hazel also uses a glide ability that allows her to cover ground to reach certain obstacles. She even has a doll that comes to life named Crouton that helps her get access to hard to reach locations and uncover secrets. Combat features small arena-based battles with creatures called Haints that populate for you to destroy and then require your Weaver powers to finish them off. They populate in waves of 5 to 6 at a time in most cases, doing a ton of damage, making it easy to overwhelm you. Your handful of Weaver powers consists of pushing and pulling enemies, freezing them in place, and finishing them off. You can also use Weaver-type daggers that have a 5-hit attack string along with a dodge. You can even use Crouton in combat to control one of the enemies and attack the horde while you focus on the rest, making him the best part of the combat. Aside from that, none of the moves feel fluid. In fact, you have to wait for your combat animations to finish before you can act again. Your Weaver abilities all have cooldowns you have to wait on, and even your dodge has a 1-second cooldown, all working against you to really have a sense of flow in the combat. To make matters worse, I encountered many instances where my button presses never came out, so I found myself button mashing when I didn't need to perform simple acts. Case in point, no words can describe the level of frustration the combat felt. Games like this made me happy a story mode exists. The moment-to-moment fun factor of South of Midnight is again a tough pill to swallow. The gameplay is a frustrating, repetitive mess with the same 5 to 6 enemy types that populate in every area of the game, and there's no point where you feel that Hazel is actually getting more powerful as a Weaver. For the entirety of the 10 to 12 hours, the fun factor, if we want to call it that in this case, was extremely one note. From the combat to traversal, you do the same things over and over again in the same ways, with even the same animations reused. The only joy I found in this game was literally walking around, looking at the environments, soaking in the atmosphere and the ambiance while the story unfolded around us. South of Midnight is a flawed but captivating experience, blending breathtaking art and sound with a heartfelt story that doesn't resolve itself well at the end. It's held back by repetitive gameplay and uneven execution, and because of all this, its release on Gamepass is the perfect fit. Download it, check it out for yourself, and see if it's something that works for you. I'm glad the experience was short-lived, because the worst thing South of Midnight could have done was overstay its welcome.